Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
It's been a wild week for retail earnings for that whole group, separating winners from losers. Take a look at some of the big moves so far this year. It's amazing, really. Crazy. How is that possible? Well, there is actually, it's kind of I see a little bit of a pattern there. Joining us now this morning on set, Telsa Advisory Group CEO, Dana Telsey. I mean, digital and, Target, Walmart, these are old stories, but they seem to be getting worse, don't they? What would you do if you were in charge of a department store at a mall?
Department stores are in a lot of trouble right now. They have to figure out how to compete and, frankly, how to offer consumers things that they want to come in and buy. I think one of the things we're seeing with department stores, how do you reduce the assortment apparel? How do you increase the selection of other categories? And you're competing against what you just mentioned before, Walmart and Target, when value and convenience are winning. So they have a rough road ahead of them. Nordstrom's numbers were a positive surprise last night. And think about why. Because of the different innovation techniques they have, whether it's locals, whether it's their loyalty program, it's not just apparel. We've got to move beyond just apparel.
Is it possible for a company like a Macy's or a Nordstrom to just rip off the Band-Aid? And how many stores would they really have to close, do you think?
Well, when you think about it, Nordstrom only has around 116 full-line stores. So they're pretty clean in terms of their...
So that's not the problem with Nordstrom. Then
right.
Is it a overall mall problem with Nordstrom, where they're located? Or
I think it's the cost of doing business that's higher. And so you have to recalibrate your margins to basically the new sales levels. When you're doing free shipping in some instances, when you're doing the local program, when you're doing delivery, labor costs are involved. And when labor costs are involved, you have to be able to get full price all the time.
You know, the difference is, we spoke with Brian Cornell earlier this week at Target, and he said he's actually able to bring those costs down when you convince people to pick things up in the store, when you use a secondary service like Shipt, the one that they're using. You kind of have to have the stores there, too, in order to make this make sense. So you need the store base, but you also have to figure out a smart online prospect.
Exactly.
To deal with.
The combination of both. Online pickup in store is your most profitable, and you can get attachment sales as a result of that. When customers shop multiple channels, they typically buy 2 to 3 times more than the single channel.
Right.
So how do you make the store exciting, and how do you basically capture the customer on their phone to bring them into the store? That's the conundrum that they're all running into. So differentiated merchandise, exclusive offerings, you're having really targeted emails go out to people, texting them at the same time. And what is all of this about? It's a service offering at the same time. Target and Walmart have the ability on price, and they have the ability on value and convenience in order to be able to offer that. Macy's is figuring it out, and I think they're still figuring it out.
You think they will succeed?
I think it's going to be a tough go over the next couple of years. I think they're still figuring out their expense structure.
So would you buy it in Macy's or Nordstrom? Or
I think Nordstrom certainly has the ability on the top lines to show greater acceleration in the near term.
Favorite retailer is what, Target or Walmart?
The off-pricers are winning. I like the TJXs of the world. I think they're working. I like brands. I think brands are winning. When you see what a VF Corp is doing, when you see what Nike's doing, it's exciting. And I think luxury. I think LVMH and Tiffany, I think that's going to happen.
Dana, great to see you.
Nice to see you, too. Thank you.
When we come back, check out the futures. Right now, Dow up by about 40 points. We're going to talk strategy right after this break. And later, a vaping summit at the White House. After the administration backed off its potential regulation, is it now back in play? We'll be right back.
What's Working is sponsored by Comcast.
I love Black Friday. Busy shops, crazy people, average deals. It's so much fun.
Said no one ever. So be savvy and do Black Friday the easy way with Smarty. Grab a huge 100 gig data SIM for just £17 a month on the Mega Plan. And with no credit checks, speed restrictions or contracts tying you down, you can kick back with the best Black Friday deal around. Now that's Smarty. Search Smarty Mobile to find out more, but hurry, as this deal won't be around for long. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all butter mini Stollen bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
It's never nice missing out. But millions are doing just that by having a current account that doesn't pay them any interest on their hard-earned money. TSB is here to help. They offer interest to all their Plus account customers for no monthly fee. So if you're one of the millions of people who are missing out, talk to TSB. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Like all good tradespeople, Ford likes an early start too. That's why our Black Friday has already begun. Enjoy amazing savings across our hard-working range of new commercial vehicles. Save between £2,500 and £9,650 off the recommended retail price. Why wait until the 29th of November, when you can have that Black Friday feeling today? Plus, there's 0% APR representative on Ford Acquire. Search Ford Black Friday. Ford, backbone of Britain.
Exclusions apply. Combined promotions available till 30th of November 2019 at participating dealers. For Ford Acquire, finance subject to status and deposit restrictions apply. Free post Ford credit.
The Dow risks snapping a 4-week-long winning streak. President Xi out with a warning over the ongoing U.S.-China trade talks as a Phase 1 deal by year's end hangs in doubt.
Vaping under fire. President Trump holding court today as he weighs policy against the e-cig industry. Dr. Scott Gottlieb joins us with his plan.
And Elon Musk unveiling his company's latest creation at an event last night. This is not your grandpa's pickup. Details straight ahead as the second hour of Squawk Box begins right now.
Good morning. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. I'm Andrew Ross Sorkin along with Becky Quick and Joe Kernan this morning. We are having fun. That's the good news. It's a Friday morning. Take a look at U.S. equity futures. About 2.5 hours before the market opens, and we are in the green. Dow looks like it would open up about 40, we'll call it 48 points higher right now. NASDAQ looking to open about 27 points higher, and the S&P 500 up about 6 points.
All right, here's what's making headlines at this hour, and let me reemphasize this. On a Friday morning, it's almost the weekend. The Hong Kong mask ban is going to be remaining in place for 7 days. This comes after a court there suspended a ruling to declare it unconstitutional. There are local elections in Hong Kong this weekend, and the recent protests are expected to continue. Tesla CEO Elon Musk unveiling his company's new all-electric pickup truck last night. The price tag starts at about $40,000. The unveil didn't come without some issues, though. That was supposed to be unbreakable, bulletproof glass. That's what Elon was promising, but the Tesla chief designer threw a metal ball to the window as part of a demonstration, and then the glass shattered. We're going to have more from Phil LeBeau in just a bit, but look, he'll try a second time, too. If I talk for long enough, you're going to see this. Yeah, failure, second time, too.
Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
I don't know. Okay, stocks have, we're going to watch that a lot. So stocks have come under pressure this morning. Dom Chu joins us with a look at the biggest moves. Hey, Dom, there's things happening between China and the United States today. I don't know if you noticed.
I did. They've been happening, I think, for quite some time now. So I'm trying not to get worked up about it. But I will not, Andrew, Joe, Becky, be throwing any metal balls at this touch screen.
Do not do
this
that.
Thing probably
That's
costs
new.
way more than anything
new.
I make.
Yes.
I just don't want to do it. It's got the fancy logo and everything on there, so I don't want to do it. Anyway, let's take a look, first of all, at this week as it plays out, because right now the Dow is on pace to snap a 3-day winning streak. It would be the longest losing streak that we've had, rather a 3-day losing streak the longest losing streak we've had in the Dow since August. It would also snap right now, if these kind of gains stay where they are, it would snap a 4-week winning streak for the Dow. Let's take a look overall, because that picture there is still 1% away from record highs at this stage here, so we're not that far away. However, if you take a look at the internals and the stocks within the Dow, there are some big winners and losers. Among the names dragging the Dow to the downside so far this week, you've got Home Depot on the heels of earnings, also 3M, probably that industrial China type story playing out there. Home Depot, 3M, the biggest laggards. United Health, the biggest winner over the course of the past week. That's driving the Dow action so far. With the S&P 500, we could be on pace for the longest losing streak that we've seen since September for the S&P 500. And again, though, still just about 1% away from record highs. So just to put it in a little bit more context. And as for the stocks that have been really in focus for the S&P 500 so far, it has been those retail stocks, right? And there have been clear-cut winners and losers this week on the heels of earnings. Kohl's and Macy's, the big decliners. Macy's down 13%, Kohl's down 20%. Meanwhile, Target, on the strength of e-commerce sales, up 13%. So that big divergence between retail names this week still playing out. The leaders and laggards. Andrew, I'll send things back over to you.
Okay. Dom, thank you for that. Investors are going to be watching the latest manufacturing numbers later this morning. Meantime, yesterday's session, 8 of the 11 S&P sectors were in the red. Real estate led the way to the downside, sliding 1.39%. Meanwhile, energy, one of the worst performing sectors, was up 1.63%, but remains in correction territory. Let's talk about all of this. Bob Dahl is here, Chief Equity Strategist at Nuveen, and Doug Ramsey, Chief Investment Officer at Luthold Group, is also with us as well. You're sitting to my right, so I'll go straight to you. Where are we? What do we make of all this craziness? Because it feels like, you hear one good story on one side and the other story is terrible.
Well, that's
been the whole week.
That's exactly where we are. We got some good news and some not good, so good news. Choppy and frustrating is the outcome in the market. The path of least resistance is still up. You still have got, fear of missing out. There is no alternative. The recession.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but
the fear of missing out is the whole.
But that's weak buyers. There's no question about it. But underneath the surface, go back a couple months, everybody's worried about a recession. We've got enough numbers now to say it may not be strong, but we're not going to get a recession. And that's enabled the market to lift a bunch of percent. The problem is earnings growth in the third quarter is 1%.
So let me ask you two questions. One is earnings growth 1%, and then you look, but it's become a very stock-specific story.
Look at retail.
You look at these earnings reports, especially in retail, and it's no longer, let's tell us, there's a overall story about the consumer or about the larger economy. It's now very specific.
Agreed. Meaning we've moved from the beta to the alpha market.
Yes.
And the alpha market is harder, but it's more interesting. Look what happened right after Labor Day when you got that crash in momentum, rise in value, increase in cyclicals, decline in defensive stocks. That's what's going on. That's the more interesting part of the market.
Except for the fact that most investors these days are buying indexes and funds, in which case they're getting mixed up in all of it.
Correct. And I think investors will eventually say, I've got to play that game.
This is going back to the active game.
Correct. Back to the active game. Hopefully, we got to get it right. Look, the S&P 500 is only 3% compound higher than it was in January of 2018. We have the big down at the end of last year, the big up at the beginning of this year, but we're not making a lot of progress.
That goes to the larger point, Joe, that nothing has happened. We're basically
we're up, but consolidated huge gains from 2016. In fact, huge, 60%.
Agreed, huge gains.
Doug, last time you were on, I just remembered this. I was kidding you about Paulson. You and Paulson or Jim Paulson are at the same firm, and one of you is going to owe the other one dinner. And I'm afraid you owe him like a week's worth of dinners. You could not have been more about what you were saying last time you were on, and you're saying the same stuff now. So you're still totally bearish. This is 23% for the year. What? I mean, you're going to stick with that now, or did you?
So glad he came on.
Well, I just trying to figure out your thinking. I mean, Paulson ended up, did you tell him, geez, Jim, you were right, here's what I missed?
Well, I mean, yes, I have. I mean, quite frankly, what we've owned, we've been allocated pretty well. I mean, we didn't get cautious in terms of what we've owned. I mean, pro-cyclical and very heavy in technology. I mean, our big winner this year, group-wise, has been semi-capital equipment. The group work that we do is sort of divorced from the macro view, which in this case has been good. I mean, I'm not overtly bearish here in the short term. I mean, I'd call our positioning low neutral. It's interesting, you talked about the stock-specific nature of this market. We see that situation technically. We have a situation where a lot of stocks are making new highs and a lot of stocks are making new lows simultaneously. I mean, that's strange given all the liquidity we have. I mean, supposedly this was going to be a big, broad upswing following that quant quake we had back in September. So it's interesting we're sort of back to that highly selective market, which typically is not a good sign for this next 6 to 12 months outlook. But right now we're going to finesse it. We're not as low in equity exposure as we had been at points earlier in the year.
And to back that up, the average stock did make its high in January of 2018. Mid-cap stock averages are down, small-cap averages, most international averages are down. It's the cap-weighted S&P 500 that's looking great.
What would you buy right now?
I got a list of 6 names.
I know you do. That's what we go to.
In managed care, I want to own Humana. You pick a different one if you want. Biotech's coming to life.
But in this day and age, you think you just pick anyone?
They're all down.
United Healthcare is still good. Joe knows we have a love affair with that over the long term. Biotech, AbbVie. Bank, you got to own a bank. Bank America, Citi, take your pick. Card company, Capital One Financial. Dana Telsey in retail. Target. We'll go long Target, go short Macy's. Cummins in industrials. I want to have some cyclicals in my portfolio as the PMIs and the ISMs get less bad.
Hey, Doug, you want to agree or disagree with any of those picks?
Well, it's interesting. I think the PMIs are huge here. I mean, we've had all this stimulus that's been injected over the last 9 to 12 months, and it is not doing anything yet for the manufacturing sector. I like to watch it.
I'm going to say sorry to interrupt, but my view is the tightening last year caused the economic weakness this year. The easing of central banks around the world this year will cause a little better. I'm not arguing for a bullion economy, a little better next year.
Okay.
Well.
Go ahead.
Bob, I can see it's still on the come though. I mean,
without question,
industrial commodity prices are back near their lows for the year. I mean, which tells me we're probably not going to get great PMI numbers for the month of November. At some point, low rates for 10 years. I just think the impact ultimately, I'm not sure it's totally worn off, but certainly the beta. I mean, the impact on businesses after this free money's been available for so long, I don't think it's going to be quite what it was back when you were at 9 or 10% unemployment, and attitudes just couldn't have been darker.
Okay, we have to leave the conversation there. Appreciate it, Bob, Doug. Thank you guys very, very much.
All right, still to come this morning, President Trump set to meet with representatives from the vaping industry later this morning as he weighs a federal ban on flavored e-cigarettes. Dr. Scott Gottlieb will join us right after the break to talk about options and what may happen. And later, Tesla unveiling the Cybertruck last night, but not everything went as planned. We'll show you the video and talk about Tesla's latest model. Squawk Box will be right back.
Trading Block is sponsored by Columbia.
Friday. Second best day of the week. Could it be better? With a Soccer Saturday price boost, it could. Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester, all to win was 3-1, now 5-1. It's not quite Saturday, but it's so close you can smell the football. Sky Bet, making betting better. When the fun stops, stop.
18 plus. BeGambleAware.org was price corrected 15th November. Odds subject to fluctuation. Max stake varies. See bet slip for details. Eligibility restrictions. T's and C's apply.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring. If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
What if your email was organised by project and not by date? What if everyone looked at the same thing instead of their own inbox? Then it wouldn't be email at all. Forget your fragmented, jumbled inbox and make the change to channels in Slack. Spaces dedicated to individual projects, topics, or teams. All your communication is neatly organized and everyone is on the same page. Slack. Choose a better way to work. Get started at slack.com.
Make their Christmas wishes come true. Whether they want to jet off on Barbie's dream plane, run with the storm in Fortnite, or glide along on My Lovely Llama. At littlewoods.com, you'll find all the toys they love, all with inclusive delivery and free returns. Own Christmas. Shop now at littlewoods.com.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition. For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked breads to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
President Trump's going to hold a meeting at the White House regarding regulating e-cigarettes. Eamon Javers joins us now with more from Washington. Good morning, Eamon.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. They're calling this a listening session at the White House later today. It's at 1:45 p.m. East Coast time. A lot of the top stakeholders in this vaping debate are going to be meeting with the president to discuss what to do about vaping, particularly teenage and youth vaping. The White House, you remember, proposed a ban on flavored e-cigarettes back in September. Nothing has happened really since then in terms of the absolute finalization of any particular plans from the White House, but they insist that everything is still going forward. Here's the statement that the White House gave us on today's meeting. They say there's a serious problem among our youth and their growing addiction to e-cigarettes. The policy-making process is not stalled. It continues to move forward. This meeting will allow the president and other administration officials an opportunity to hear from a large group representing all sides as we continue to develop responsible guidelines that protect public health and the American people. Take a look at some of the attendees we expect to be at the event today. Representatives of some of the big tobacco companies, Altria, Reynolds, also the American Vaping Association, the American Lung Association, and the American Cancer Society, Cancer Action Network, all expected to be at this meeting today. So a wide range of voices speaking to the president. And you remember, Joe, back in September, the president talked about Melania Trump's interest in this issue because of their son Barron. The president said that Melania was particularly focused on this issue because of the rise of teen vaping. But the politics of this are really unsettled. Vaping is so new. It's not like tobacco or other things where we know exactly where the politics shake out. There could be some political damage here for the president because vaping may be popular among his base. So there might be some people in and around the White House who are watching the political ramifications of this as well as the public health ramifications, guys.
Yeah, I know that was the narrative when the backtracking started, that in Trump country there's a lot of vapors, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Smokers, vapors.
Yeah, and that's the question. We don't really know how this shakes out politically, but that could be right. And the president could be facing a bunch of angry single-issue voters if they're vapors, and that's important to them. And then there's the argument that the industry makes and others make that vaping is important to get cigarette smokers off.
Transition.
It gives you a transition.
And then you got the normal libertarian types, anti-government types that just don't want nanny state.
Grover Norquist is going to be sending a representative to this one today. Yeah, I mean, right, it's nanny state. You know, don't tell me what I can do. So what if it's bad for me? That's my business.
I had a don't tell this new entrant to the race, but I had a 17-ounce sugary drink the other day. Not in New York, though. Not in New York, but I did that.
Outside city limits.
Out in New Jersey. I don't want anyone, hopefully no one will hear about that.
Well, if you have a good contact, they can smuggle it in.
Yeah. Can't wait to have the whole country like.
Oh, stop!
All right, thank you.
I can't believe it.
Thank you.
You bet.
You know,
everybody getting stopped and frisked, and then
the most accomplished, competent person.
Giuliani.
Come on, let's go. Let's go. Take it easy. Let me get to Scott. Hold this for a moment. In a recent op-ed, former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb detailed what he thinks the administration should be doing about vaping. Dr. Gottlieb joins us right now. We should point out he's also a CNBC contributor and a member of the Pfizer board. And Scott, you have thought long and hard about this. You would like to see some pretty strict regulations coming down on this. But what do you will be happening at the White House today? What do you think is happening behind the scenes? Obviously, you know a lot of the players.
Well, look, I think this is a legitimate process. I think they're trying to back into a policymaking process right now. And so this is a legitimate meeting they're having right now to try to gather some stakeholder input and have the president hear from different voices. If the concern is the vape shops, which is where I think the concern is resting right now, and the idea that if you put in a universal flavor ban, you'll basically shut down these adult-only vape shops. I think there's a way to carve around the vape shops and still achieve a lot from a public health standpoint. You can even make a public health argument why you might exempt vape shops for the time being. So if a vape shop is adult only, if it age restricts to allow people into the store, you couldn't allow that store to continue to sell flavored products on a direct relationship to a customer. What you need to go after are these mass-produced products that are cheap, disposable, very sleek and attractive, that kids are buying in gas stations and convenience stores, because that's what the kids are abusing. It's typically not these open tank, big contraptions sold in the adult vape shops that the kids are using, because those things are hard to conceal. They produce large plumes of vapor, and the kids don't like them.
That is the kind of pushback. Grover Norquist and libertarians may come up with this idea that, look, as Eamon mentioned, stay out of my business. This is my decision on what to make. Your concern from the beginning has been the huge epidemic that's been taking place among children. How about that? I mean, it's gotten worse, not better.
No, it's gotten worse, and Juul actually increased their market share among kids over a course of time when everyone was objectifying them and pointing out that kids were abusing their products. So it's quite extraordinary. I think that there's a way to target the portion of the market of the products that the kids are using. And you can consider taking the cartridge-based products, these disposable products, off of the market entirely, pending applications, successful applications with the FDA, where they need to prove that they provide a net public health benefit. Because you can argue right now, they don't have enough redeeming public health value given all the youth use to remain on the market, and carve out the stuff that the adults tend to use, which are the open tank systems sold in these adult shops. But you've got to make sure the adult shops age restrict. Remember, the United Kingdom doesn't have the youth problem that we have, and they have a large population of smokers transitioning to vaping. But the difference is that most of the products sold in the UK are the tank vaping systems, these larger contraptions, and the nicotine content is lower. So you don't have the 5% nicotine that the kids like because it gives them a quick buzz.
Let's get political. You know the president. What do you think is going to happen here? What does he have to be persuaded? Who's talking to him on either side? Because he clearly was ready to go on this, and then until he wasn't.
Yeah, look, I think that the reporting has been accurate, that they're legitimately concerned about shutting down these small mom-and-pop shops and these adult vape stores. And again, from a public health standpoint, I can make a rational argument that those shops...
Scott, you're talking about it in a very practical way. This is not a philosophical conversation. This is a political conversation.
I think they can carve around those vape shops. The bottom line is I think they can do it. I outlined it in the Washington Post. I think you can say if an adult vape shop age restricts and is selling to adults, you can allow them to continue to sell the flavored products. And what we're going to go after produce cartridge-based products, they have to either come off the market or take all their flavors off the market. The problem with just taking the flavors off the market in those products is I think the kids are going to start using the tobacco flavor because if you
who is going to come after? I want to know. This is the thing that I don't understand politically. The president really is against vaping, which I think he is, across the board, by the way. I mean, across the board. This idea that he's going to somehow lose his base because he's going to actually go after something which would benefit the public and the public health. And he's going to lose his base to who? The base is going to transfer itself to Elizabeth Warren or to Joe Biden because they like him better. I don't understand this. The whole thing's so cockamamie to me that I don't get it.
Look, I haven't looked at the polling data. I don't know that they necessarily are looking polling data. Those are the reports, right, that they're worried about the political implications. Right. But there is a legitimate argument to be made here that there are adults who are using these products to transition off of combustible cigarettes onto vaping products. And you don't want to just sweep the market of everything. You want to leave something for the adults. So what you can leave for the adults are these open tank systems sold in stores that restrict. You have to be over 18 to get in the store. And then you take everything else off. So you preserve some portion of the market for adults who legitimately are using these products to quit smoking. You know, I'm not a big proponent of this altogether, but I think there's a way to carve around what the adults responsibly and what the kids are abusing. Remember, if we look at what's happened over the last 2 years, what's been overshadowed by the e-cigarette epidemic, and it is an epidemic of use, is smoking rates have plummeted and youth smoking rates have plummeted. To acknowledge that some of that, at least, is a result of the vaping, that some adults are using these products to transition off of cigarettes onto these vaping products. I don't want to dismiss them entirely. So I think there's a way to carve around this. It also helps them carve around the political concerns of shutting shops.
That sounds practical, Scott. It sounds like it's common sense. It sounds like it's a plan that could get done, but will it?
I think it will. I mean, I think that something's going to get done here. They seem very committed. They wouldn't be putting out these statements, doubling down on the fact that they do something if they didn't intend to do something. I think they were, spooked by the politics of this and the pushback, and so now they're backing into a policy process and an open process, taking some dialogue, and they'll come out with something that probably carves around a little bit the vape stores. And I think that that's a fine place to land from a public health standpoint. I think I will take a glass half full here if we can get these pod-based, cartridge-based products either off the market entirely or severely restrict the kids' access to them.
All right, Scott, thank you. It's great to see you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, if I get an apology for the big gulp, like with the stop and frisk, I'll start thinking about it. If it puts out an apology, I'm sorry I did that with the big gulp, then
I don't understand.
No, that's all I'm saying. I just don't like
people. You like successful business people who are good business people. Okay. And not only was Mayor Bloomberg a good business person, he's created more value than you could possibly.
I just was talking about. Libertarian big gulp type stuff. I didn't want to talk about.
And then he managed the city for 12 years remarkably successfully. So I don't really understand how. I mean, I could find 2 or 3 things I don't like about it, and you can point those things out, but at the expense of
he spent. Okay, you know how I feel about other things. If he's focusing on those other issues that I think are less, what his entire post-mayoral.
But if you care about the economy, if you care about the global economy,
I care about big gulps. All right, coming up, I care about sugary drink, to be able to buy one here and not retrofit all the factories. We'll be right back. How much does political bias play in the market calls? We'll discuss that.
Time now for today's Aflac trivia question. On this day in 1900, Where did the first Mercedes take its inaugural test drive? The answer when CNBC Squawk Box continues.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. We're laughing emoji.